A good one.
What's the banana for?
For my trip home.
I have one too. Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Rosso, and you're listening to the film. And you're listening to the Film Photography Podcast, your podcast for film.
Smooth.
What show?
Hey, we're back.
A lot of folks need to be reminded.
I'm here with Leslie Lazenby,
Hello, everyone.
Mark O'Brien,
Hey there.
Mark Dalzell, hey, Matt Marash,
Oh, hey.
and I have my Minolta XL601 Super 8 camera on my person.
And
Let's see.
what film do you have in there?
A long time ago, an FPP listener donated a box of Super 8 film. It was all expired, like really expired, like 1989 expired. So this is a roll of Ektachrome E160.
Yeah.
And my hope is that it was stored well, and that I'll get... I'm not expecting stellar colors, but with our new colorist in-house, Dave Northrup, and some fine processing by Dwayne's Photo, I'm hoping that I'll be able to squeak an image out of this. We did during our Pizza Friday lunch, we did our Pink Floyd Live at Pompeii Dolly lunch shot.
During Echoes, that beautiful behind the amps pan shot they do.
But when they're in the lunchroom talking, they also do that shot. There's a Dolly shot.
They do?
They
At
do.
Pompeii, there's a lunchroom scene?
Yeah, there
I
is.
remember that one.
You don't remember that? Pompeii cut between Pink Floyd Live at Pompeii and them during the recording of Dark Side of the Moon. You don't recall that?
I haven't seen that.
Oh, okay. We're going to open up with Matt has a letter.
Oh, hey. This is from Seth. Hey, FPP Gang. First off, I love the show. Keep up the excellent work. You're a delight to listen to. Second, my father was an avid photographer with a great eye for composition. I've begun to scan his negatives in order to catalog his work, which is primarily 35mm. The Pacon F135 is a scanner I used to rely on, has developed issues. And for the price these have exploded to, often fetching $1,200+ on eBay, it's getting a little harder to use. I'd rather put my money into a modern system, but nothing seems to match the balance of speed and quality that his Pacon had. The primary issue here is that he needs speed. He's got a collection of over 250,000 negatives to cover. So, can we all recommend to Seth, 1, a non-commercial lab scanner, or 2, a commercial grade scanner? Limit less than $5K. I'm willing to pay good money, but not willing to sink my money into a dead system. Rather not do a DSLR rig, as I don't want to tinker, I just want to scan. But DSLR might be the only modern, effective way to scan, which is a shame. Any suggestions would greatly be appreciated.
Can I do a question first?
Sure.
He definitely said negatives, not slides.
He said negatives.
Okay. Makes a big difference.
250,000?
His father was a photographer.
I would call those out ahead of time, because if his dad was a photographer or grandpa, he probably shot multiple images of the same subject, and I would begin first with the calling out. And he also didn't mention size, and that's important.
35
Oh, he does.
mil. Yeah.
He did. Okay.
Unless you're valuing the experience of handling your relatives' slides and are enjoying the process of going through them. I mean, if that's important to you, that's terrific. Great. Find a scanner. But if not, send them all to a service.
Yeah.
I would send them all to a service.
I'd second that.
Definitely.
We always, at work, we always have folks coming in, not necessarily with this many thousands of negatives, but probably the most I've seen come in was just short of 2,000, and these were slides. Slides, you can kind of... There are some systems that are meant to handle those really, really quickly, but negative film is... It's a bit of a different beast. There's different masks to work with, and the age of the equipment could just as easily hamper the process in converting those as making it quick. The pack-ons, that's kind of what their deal was. They're convenient yet low quality, but convenient first and foremost. It goes through the whole kind of thing. Now, if those negatives, I'm guessing they're already cut and sleeved.
That's what I'm betting.
Because it's a professional photographer, so I don't think a pack-on is as easy for that. But if it's already cut and sleeved in that manner, he could look into like a Noritsu lab. Mm-hmm. And those Noritsu scanners are going to be, I think, pretty good, up there with the pack-on quality, but not quite something crazy like a Fuji Frontier, because those aren't fast. Those are you're trading quality for quantity at that point. So my recommendation would be like a Noritsu system, but he said dead system. You know, all those qualifiers kind of negate the market for that. If you're going for quantity, that's one thing, but if you're going for quality, make selects. You never want to do them all with a quality process.
I may have missed. What was the end purpose? Just to have them digitized?
Just digitizing them, yeah. He wants to catalog the work. So a catalog is generally nowhere near full res on that stuff.
It might even behoove him to put them into storage pages and scan them on like a Epson V700.
Do the whole flatbed.
Yeah.
Flatbed contact sheet type of thing. Yeah. Then you can scan a lot more negatives and maybe scan the entire project and then file the contact, the positive, punch holes in it,
and just right
file it with the
it.
negatives, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're saying if you make contact sheets and you have, fairly reasonably sized, meaning like manageable sized JPEGs, you could use all those contact sheets as your go-to to look at and then to pick slides that you want to do high res.
Yeah, so instead of having a physical contact sheet, there's a printout of that contact sheet on, DyeSub or just whatever is cheap and easy to print, and that would sit behind the page of negatives.
You just three-hole punch it and put it in.
Yeah. Because otherwise, the process is going to get very clunky. He also added the caveat, he has a small apartment to operate this in. I don't even think 250,000 negatives fits in a small apartment. Yeah. We learned that from the Bill Cunningham documentary. Yeah. So there's space requirements. There are ways to somewhat automate the DSLR process, but it's very rigged out, and you have to manage every single thing that goes through it. There's no easy answer for large collections like that, but this is why services do exist, and this is why they charge the money they do for it, especially at quantity. It's no small undertaking. If you do want to do it yourself, though, you're going to spend the money to do it.
Also, too, on services, you may find 29 cents and 39 cent scans. Mm-hmm. And chances are they're shipped overseas to get the cheap labor.
Ooh.
They bring them into a U.S. facility. That's why they take longer. Oh, it's okay. I don't care if you take longer. I'm going to get these all for 29 cents. But then there's one more step in there in which they can be lost.
Yeah. How many do you get for 29 cents?
How many?
I mean, are you saying
29 cents per... Absolutely, and
so
that's
250,000 negatives. That's still going to be.
Let's say you're putting 35 images, or maybe let's say 36, sheets in those negative pages. So you could do that, right? 6,944 sheets of contact sheets. That's a lot of...
That's a lot of printing. That's a lot of... Yeah, so all of it is cull first.
Yeah.
And I would be surprised if there's some stuff in there. It's honorable to want to do a catalog of every single thing that's on there, but would the photographer have even wanted every single thing on there? I know I'm looking back. I have my cabinets are growing by the year. I do file my stuff away, and I have numbers that I catch up on every calendar year. And I look back and I'm like,
what did I save that for?
There's one negative I like out of this cabinet. And there's some years where there's a couple drawers I like things out of, but year over year that number gets less and less. You know, the hits are there's way less hits than there are misses.
So what's the bottom line?
Bottom line, there's given the limitations, but this is that limit 5,000. That could say 10,000. It could say 20,000. Any high-end scanner is going to cost less than the service fees on scanning even half of that entire collection of negatives. This would probably be a 3-year intensive scan job or 10-year casual scan job if this was just one person
What
doing
is
it.
your time worth?
Yeah. That's
Wow.
that's a tough
Especially
answer.
if you find out you do not enjoy scanning.
Well, you won't after a couple months of this.
Yeah, exactly.
After your first
So
10,000.
it's no easy answer to it.
You know, this brings up a question of quality, though. This has been making me think. Earlier this year, I had sent out some big sheets of film to get drum scanned.
Sheets.
There's different ends of the spectrum of quality versus quantity. Some of the top quality you can get in a scan is this technology that unfortunately is essentially dead technology. The newest models of those were made in the mid to late 90s. We're talking a drum scanner that uses a PMT or photo multiplier tube. There's a light source, typically a laser, it shines through that drum that's spinning at 6 to 12,000 RPMs, and that photo multiplier tube is creating those bits of information that are then getting encoded to a file. Files usually so big they have to be put into what's called a PSB file. Has anybody ever used one of those?
No.
So in Photoshop, once something gets above a gigabyte, it's very unmanageable. Computers start to crash.
Wow.
A different file type for files larger than a gigabyte, a PSB, allows you to go, I think it's up to 8 gigabytes or more. So for big old scans. But with those machines, you can get insane amounts of density out of slides or very, very tricky or maybe poorly worked on negatives or slides. In my case, some underexposed slides, Velvia with shadows to dig into. It's amazing the difference in quality you can get out of that. It's kind of interesting.
What's a drum scan cost today?
Oh, it's up there. I used, this is a shout out to the folks at Lightwork in Syracuse, New York. Lightwork is known for their Artist in Residence program. They have one of the best ones in all of North America. It's a paid Artist in Residence program. They also have a really nice rental lab that includes a drum scanner you can rent out time on. Their drum scans for up to 2,000 DPI are $55, and that includes spotting and dusting.
Do you think that's an average price?
That is not. That is far below average.
Oh, no kidding.
The average drum scan is $150 to $250.
Gotcha.
There are services, though, that can drum scan up to 14,000 DPI, which is too big.
Yeah, I don't know.
What
the
do you
need
need
for
that
that.
big? Yeah,
Exactly.
but there are some jobs that necessitate that. There are some jobs for reproduction that they require a single capture and not stitching because of the artifacts and things created.
Sure.
And that's where those they use these crazy drum scanners called a Heidelberg Tango.
Yes, the
It looks like-
Heidelbergs.
It looks like a water cooler that spins at 12,000 RPM.
Heidelberg Tango.
Yes. So, but these drum scanners, they start, Mike. They start in the $5,000-$6,000 range and go up from there. When they were new, they cost more than a really nice Volvo.
Okay.
But no, Seth, this was a really good question. There are no easy answers. I personally would find the best 2,000 out of that and pay somebody a good price to get those done. Now that's saying find the best 1% in there, but think like a photographer when it comes to that. There's probably a body of work that was either your father didn't have known in his body of work, or you thought was really most representative of his work. Because if you think of your favorite photographers, if you can conjure up more than 5 favorite pictures, you're a fanboy or fangirl of them. So I don't think it's a quantity thing a lot of the time.
Right.
Even with the prolific street photographers, it's not much of a quantity thing at the end of the day. It's quality.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks.
Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 25 seconds.
Bales in.
So in front of Mark Dalzell, we have a box. Would you mind opening up that box from our good friend Dave Lyons? He is our truck driving pal from Utah who said, hey, I'm going to send you guys a box of some treats.
Whoa. Taffy.
Oh, saltwater taffy.
Saltwater taffy.
Dave Lyons, I'm eating your taffy right now.
I feel too good.
Thank you, Dave. It's greatly appreciated.
Oh, it's delicious.
And up next, Mark Dalzell is going to do a camera review.
Oh, come on. Give me 2 minutes to finish the taffy.
Number 3.
You need to lay there telling me that George fell into his French horn.
And now the FA Nikon by Mark O'Brien.
It came out in 1983. It's an electronic SLR. It requires two button cells. It's got a ISO range of 12 to 4,000. The shutter speed goes from 1 second to 1/4,000th of a second. The shutter is a titanium focal plane shutter. It's a really, really good shutter. It's also used in the FM2N. Flash sync is 1/250th of a second. It can take a motor drive. It can take the MD11, MD12, and MD15 motor drives. And as I said, it first came out in 1983. But it was the world's first reflex camera offering automatic multi-pattern metering, which today we would call matrix metering. They call it AMP on program, aperture priority, and shutter priority automatic exposure controls. It also has, like the F3, an LCD display, and you can see that in the viewfinder. It can do manual operation. It's got TTL flash control. It's got memory lock. 3 interchangeable focusing screens. It has a multiple exposure lever, a viewfinder blind, which is really important if you've got it on a tripod and you are not behind the camera. A mechanical shutter speed at 1/250th. If you put the MD15 motor drive on it, the batteries from the motor drive also power the camera. It's a very high-tech camera for its time, and it came out in chrome and black. I would love to have a Nikon FA in all black. It would be a very nice camera, but it works the same as the chrome one. To celebrate the camera Grand Prix in 1984, Nikon came out with a 24-karat gold-plated FA with a nice leather covering. And the FA Gold is fully operational. I have no idea what those go for on eBay if you could find one.
Yeah.
But the FA is a really good camera. It's just a fully featured camera. It also has a PC socket for a flash if you want, external flash. Or you can use one of the Nikon extension cords to take advantage of the full TTL flash metering. Exposure compensation from plus and minus 2 stops. It's just a pleasure to use. There's a film reminder window on the back of the camera. That's where you can put a little picture of yourself, and if someone doesn't know about film cameras, you can show it to them if they want to see a preview. Put a mirror in there and they can see themselves.
That's hilarious.
Of all the electronic Nikons that are out there, I mean, this is certainly better than the F3 in the respect that the flash is mounted on top of the camera, but it has again, up to 1/4,000th of a second shutter speed. I don't know if I've ever used it like that, but if I have this Lens Baby 1.6 on here with some high-speed film, it might be the perfect thing for that. It has a cable release socket on the shutter release, and other than that, it's, what can I say? It's just a joy to use.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Leslie?
I've been scammed, man.
By who? The pizza guy? By Mark Dalzell? By who?
Well, Mark Dalzell, it's a running scam.
Yeah.
But
Running scam.
yes. I don't know who coined the phrase Scameras, but it's a portmanteau originally for speed cameras. You know, those traffic cameras that get you.
I've never heard that before.
What,
Scameras?
Scamera, yeah, I've never heard that.
Classic.
I thought you made it up.
I wish I had. It says from those speed cameras that when you stop at a light or speed or whatever, then you just get the ticket in the mail without an ossifer being involved. And they'll usually say, I got slapped by a scamera. Speed camera. But can also be used for a copycat camera in our industry. And these pieces of plastic crap are made to look like very full-featured, expensive cameras. They even go as far as misspelling the name slightly, but they'll use a font on the camera that matches up to the original manufacturer's font. And they are designed for nothing more than to scam and deceive and destined to fail if they work at all. Now, I don't want people to confuse these with toy cameras. They are not toy cameras. Totally different. But I collected a few Scameras that are out there, and there's the Olympia. There's also the Olympic OY instead of the OM.
Oi.
The numerous for Nikon, of course. The Nikia, the Nokina, the Nippon, and the Nippon with 2 Ps. Don't forget, if you see it, pick up your Toshika, your Mitsuba, Panoramic. There's also the Sonica.
Sonica. Good one.
The Rokinon, too close to a lens. There's also the Minotaur, instead of Minolta. Panasound.
I have some Rokinons. I know that one.
And I will have one of these for my collection. I find it, it's so funny.
Does this work?
Yes. Can you imagine
Quote, yes.
walking around with a Yoshita on your neck spelled Yoshita?
Oh, Yoshita pictures.
Yeah. And I just think I got to have one. It's just classic. The one I am currently using is a Canomatic MF. Yeah. MF 7000 DV. Not to be confused with Canon's Canomatic M70. So you see how they play on that. That's like a very fine camera compared to this POS Canomatic MF 700 DV. And the font is just very convincing. The box itself reads, MF 700 DV, keep the memories forever. Dual viewfinder, 35 compact camera, auto rewind, power rewind, lens made in Japan. That's important, lens made in Japan. 50 millimeter, first lie it isn't. 6.3, dual viewfinder, focus free, not fixed focus, focus free.
I love that term.
My very first kind of introduction into Scameras, and I think this may have been sent in by Ian Fleming. I'm not 100% sure.
Ian Fleming?
Yes. And this little camera, the name has fallen off, but it was called a Syntax. Is that too close to Pentax? I'm not sure, because I'm not 100% convinced that this is a Scamera, because it doesn't look like a film camera. It looks like an 80s or a 90s little mini video camera.
It looks like a pencil sharpener.
But what's wild about it, number one, it had to have the battery cover taped shut to even work. It's rather upright. The film opening is a portrait 35 millimeter opening. It's not horizontal. Landscape.
Does the film load sideways then?
It loads from bottom to top.
Like the 127 camera.
Yes,
cool.
Exactly. But the thing is, if you use the viewfinder,
What did you just do?
That's the viewfinder. You have two.
That's ridiculous.
If you use the viewfinder on the top, it's square. If you use this one, that folds out from the side like those little video cameras. It's horizontal, but your film is recording vertically. So the whole thing is just a disaster. But it just screams disaster, and it's fun. And all the information about the lens is printed on the lens cap. It's not on the lens itself. Yes, and it's called Camera, 35 millimeter camera, f3.6, 35 millimeter lens. So that kind of started my whole Scamera thing.
How does this work? How do I get this to work? I put a roll of film in there.
Let the lady show you.
This thing, there's a... You've got to hold it in just the right place.
It's got the Canon squeak.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to... There you go. Now you're wound up to the next frame. This does not have a flash.
Oh, I can put a flash on it.
Yes, you can.
It's got a warm shoe.
All right. The Scamera that I have, the Canomatic.
Oh.
That's part of it, that sound. When the film rewinds, you think it's a bomb.
Now, how do we know when it's going to end?
Well, there you go.
It never ends.
I'm shooting with the
whole thing.
Canomatic.
It feels like it's never
Just
going to end.
hold your horses because it just builds up. To honor
Wait,
the value,
the microphone when you shoot it.
to honor the value of my Canomatic,
Garbage disposal.
I went to
3,000.
the Dollar Tree and put dollar AA batteries in it.
Oh, okay.
The contacts
Not
were
smooth, right? Oh, that's your aperture.
yes, yeah. You do have to select an aperture, but
I'm going to go F11.
all right. The battery contacts were clean and shiny, but only one side of, and it takes 2 AA's.
Look at me.
Only.
Get ready. Here's that noise.
Oh.
No, you have to know how to hold it.
Oh, I'm not
Squeeze
putting the battery in.
Yes, you got to squeeze it in the right place.
Now it won't wind?
No, it will eventually when you get just the right.
Yeah, give me that. I know what
squeeze.
to do.
It won't take another shot. There you got it wound. Now you're ready for the next shot. So I put dollar store batteries in it. It seemed appropriate. One side is fine. It will make contacts. The other side, the contacts are buried too
You got half a wind.
too deep in the camera, and I had to. You're rewinding.
Yeah, it's a shorty.
Oh. You know, I'm going to let you guys play at this. I'm going to finish my segment.
Oh, hold on. Am I all rewound? I don't know.
You don't know.
I got Mike's cool model helicopter flying around the studio right now.
Oh, please
Jeez.
continue.
Thank you.
That's great for street photography.
So as I was mentioning, and then as the guys have found out, one of the battery contacts is just way too low. Above and below, it's stuffed with foil. Foil balls to make the contacts. And I also noticed that the viewfinder is wacky. It has 2 viewfinders. It has a waist level finder and one that you simply just stick your eye through a hole. The waist level finder, of course, works with a mirror. The mirror, as we think it, is usually glass and silver. This was a slightly etched piece of very thin metal that just floated in there. It's not big enough to attach to anything.
It works great.
So, yeah. So I had to glue it in, but build the glue up so that I could finally attach it to the wall of the camera. And it does claim to be a 50 millimeter. It is really about a 40 millimeter. It may be a 6.3. I don't know. The front piece on it makes you think that you have got a nice big bit of glass real estate on here. And you've got a pretty fast lens. The lens is buried way back at the camera, and it's a 6.3. This is
Slice
just
all that off.
this is just a filter that it's not a filter. It's not glass. It was floating around in the box, and I had to glue that on. Lens made in Japan.
Requires more assembly than a Lomo constructor.
Camera made in China. Company based in Taiwan. All of these were made by the Oyama Camera Company. And if you have any others, we all have the same serial number. They just used one number on the
matter
front,
what brand.
stamped it on everything.
It's an MF 7000 DV.
700.
It's MFAF.
Oh, no, 7,000.
There.
So they made it look like an EOS, but they gave
Check
it
the box.
They gave it an
Oh,
ultra
no, I'm
model.
sorry, 7,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. 7,000 DV. Quality. Quality. Now, a lot of times they'll take this waist level finder and they will build a flash in here.
Oh,
so I've seen 2 versions. I think you discovered one of its little secrets too was the sound that thing makes.
That was a secret?
That was, well, no longer.
Why auto?
Why not?
Probably the most interesting thing I read about Scameras was they said a lot of people open these things up on the bottom and they'll find actually like lead shot in there. Yeah. That's what I took out of the bottom.
Oh my!
I had Justin weigh it. It is a metal plate. It fits in there. I opened it up. I was thinking maybe there was a wire or something on that battery contact, so I just took the bottom off. So I had Justin weigh it. It's 7 ounces. So 7 ounces of the weight of that. Wow. And I just left it out. It's not necessary to have it in.
Why even add the expense of it?
I don't, because that makes it trick you into thinking
it's real.
Something in there.
That there's more. A weightier camera is perceived value.
Besides
Pick it up.
Weight.
Then it does also come with a lens hood, and when you put the lens hood on, you block half of the optical viewfinder. So it just keeps going and going and going, and it was one of the few days that we actually had some sunshine, so the camera just kept getting funnier and funnier to use.
Does this one work?
I have not processed the roll, but I
Okay.
have shot with it. You may have I think if it had been a cloudy day, the camera truly would have tested my patience, because every step of the way I could not get this to wind, to use film. You really don't know where you're at because the counter has come off. You know, everything just kind of sits in one place. You don't know when you're done rewinding it. But we had a little sunshine, and I felt so darn good that I finally finished it. I have processed the roll, and it amazingly spaced decently. The exposure, not bad. It's the only thing you have to choose on this, and you do get pictures. 6.3, f8, 11, and
You've processed the roll from the Canomatic.
I have
6.3?
6.3. That's wide open. We're going back 150 years.
I was going to say, they swiped old Kodak apertures.
They did. You know, and of course that has the little full sun. It has the little diagrams on it, so you really don't have to know what you're doing. You do, because you got to squeeze the bottom to make it advance.
You wouldn't have thought that in the first place if you knew what you were doing.
If you knew what you were doing, but it's just, they're just so darn deceiving. So using it truly was a fun challenge. I wasn't expecting much. I took the negatives off the roll, and I was just like, happy dance. It's like, oh my God, there's something here. But they have the funniest little glow to them. And it's a crapshoot of what you're going to get, because the viewfinders don't work. They're both off. They're half covered. And it was just way too much fun. But that's definitely how you have to look at a Scamera.
What do they sell for?
Well, the Yoshita, I think everybody wants one of those. We'll bring a little more.
This is Yoshita?
No. That's the Syntax.
Okay.
The Yoshita looks just like this.
Okay.
They all look the same. Some of them put a flash here, some not.
But they
have a big handlebar-looking flash.
Oh, they have the big handlebar. Yes, I've seen those on the Olympics especially.
Whoever made this very serious.
Look at this. The door just fell open. My foil's going to fall out.
There's even a cover for the hot shoe, like a plastic.
Yeah, slides in and out for the hot shoe. And it came with a instruction manual and a quality woven neck strap.
So I could see this like being sold like in Times Square in like the early 1980s.
Oh, yeah.
Like with someone, and I'm sure people bought these, right?
Yeah. Check out the little tripod.
Oh, my God.
That came with the, oh, no, it's just... No, it has to.
That came this camera.
Yes.
What's this called?
That is a Syntax, Sintex, and it had a nifty little case with it too.
I love it. It just says camera.
It says camera.
Wait, what is that?
Put it.
How are your images from the
pressure tester or my camera? Oh no, it says camera.
How were your pictures from the Canomatic camera?
They're kind of cool because they're kind of glowy.
Right.
Decently, believe it or not, exposed. Now, originally, the aperture, which is square, so you know how many, you've only got 4 blades to deal with here, was gummy, sticky. But it may have been because the battery was not making full contact long enough. I wasn't squeezing the battery cover or have enough foil stuffed in there. But it's
giving it the right secret handshake.
Exactly. But it eventually straightened up, and it would open up and then just simply wait for me to wind the film, which was to be more automatic. I mean, look at this. This is Minolta. right here. That's a Minolta shutter button.
Totally.
Yeah, auto wind
200
and
feet away, people
rewind.
would think you were shooting a Maxim.
They might, till they heard it.
Which they would from a few hundred feet away.
But it was quite a little challenge to use. I'll probably never fire it up again. But I was pleased with the frames I got. I even threw a red filter over one of them because the sky was good and I wanted to make it better. Mm-hmm. So I had 2 stops to open because I was using 400 speed film. And in one of the instruction manuals, it actually says on it, use any film. There is no recommendation for film time. I believe that's this one right
Color
here. It just
or
says,
black and white.
Take 120.
That's what I'm thinking. Cram it in there.
4x5.
Any film. So that's the Scamera. And I have found them to be quite humorous. But I'm going to tell you, if I got scammed by one, I probably wouldn't think this was all so funny.
Another one I've seen is Benz Gant as a name.
What?
Benz Gant. B-E-N-Z with a slash and then G-A-N-T.
No, I've seen a Bentley.
No,
a Bentley camera.
I know, and this is a Benz Gant. Another one.
Benz Gant.
I mean, I don't know who makes up these things.
I don't know. They're just like, that's the whole, there's no research and design on this. It's just somebody sitting there making up names.
Let's speak to Ben, please.
Who do you want to talk to?
Ben.
Ben?
Yeah.
Anybody named Ben? 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 No, nobody
Last
but...
name is Mr. Dover. Dover's last name is.
Who is it?
Last name is Dover.
Ben Dover. Ben Dover. Not here.
How about you, Ben Dover?
And if you go on the Bay, you'll see, not only on the Bay, but also on Facebook, people trying to sell these.
Yes.
You know, especially the Olympia or something, in which they come in a nice box, and they've got the external flash and all that stuff. And they think it's, wow, this is a really nice SLR, and it's not even an SLR. You know?
Curved, the back on it, the film plane is curved
Right.
because the lens is so bad. That's why they did that, to kind of pick up some sharpness, but they really cracked me up. Well, it's got a tripod socket. Son of a gun.
At least the Time camera and its clones, you knew they were dubious quality to begin with.
They are considered toy cameras
are.
today. Yeah, they
Yes.
don't make any bones about it. This is.
But these
it's,
are trying to
oh, look at the
like
batteries.
something that they aren't.
We got Gassner batteries. The
Gassner.
original batteries are still in the box. Gassner. Anyway, thank you, Leslie.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike.
All this is caused by UFOs.
Mark Giselle, what do you have for us today?
Hi. Well, I got another camera.
Oh, wait a minute.
What?
Mike Rosso just joined us. Welcome, Mike.
Oh,
hey,
Mike
hi.
Ross is here. How's it going?
Great, thank you, Leslie.
Yes.
Forgot what he looked like.
We'll pass this along to Mark.
Thanks. And he's gone again. What have I got today? This is practically a segue from what you were just talking about, because the camera I brought today is I would say it's a toyish kind of quality camera. What I've got here today is the Bilora Bella 44. This is a German-made one. The one I have here is a 127 camera. These were made from the mid-50s into the early 60s. There was a wide variety of models and revisions. They made 127 and 120 cameras. They were available in what I have here, which is a 4x4. In the 120, they also made a 6x6 version. Same camera. It was just, 10% bigger to hold 120. And then they also, for 127, made the same camera that would shoot 4x6.5 and 4x6 on 127 film, which is pretty odd. I don't know of any other 127 cameras that would shoot
4x6.
4x6.5. So it's 4x6.5. It's a completely unusual aspect ratio. I've never heard of it. 6 shots on a roll? If
There
that,
were
5?
3 127 formats.
Oh, were there? Well, then that's 3. Oh, I've never seen another one that was. I've never seen a 127 that wasn't 4x4.
Oh, no.
So
No, there were.
they're
I remember coming into the shop and we'd have to reset up the printer for them.
Oh, okay.
Not
Well, that's
often.
what- yeah.
Once a year, Christmas.
So they made all. So this one made all 3 then. So the one I have here, there's a lot of different revisions, but the documentation as to what the different revisions all were is a little sketchy. So the one I have here is either a 44-2 or a 44-4. I'm not sure which one because the photo of them looks exactly the same, and I'm not sure what the difference was between those two. But the 44-2 came out in 1958. The 44-4 was 1962, so it's somewhere in that ball. As far as features go, it has a lens on the front.
Yes.
Of a circular fashion that will encompass some number of millimeters. I don't know. Nobody knows. I could do it if I ever shoot this. When I shoot this camera, I should say, I'll do a test and find out. Probably somewhere in the 45 millimeter ballpark, but who knows? It has 2 apertures, which is the 2 choices are 8 or 16, and has a little flip down mask. So it's like a box camera aperture setting on it. So you just have a little round mask that flips in front of it. It does actually have shutter speeds, believe it or not, 1/50th and 1/100th plus bulb.
Well, how come you're talking kind of disparaging about it?
It's,
My lord,
because it's a
so-
fancy-looking box.
It sure is.
It's a fancy-looking 127 box camera.
Oh, okay.
In
When it comes
die-cast
down to
metal.
it. Yeah, that's. I mean, I'm getting
saying it's
to
almost a
the
Scamera.
technical stuff. It's a toy. It's
Okay.
a solid toy. I like it. Yeah, so you got 3 shutter speeds, 1/50th, 1/100th, plus bulb. Zone focus, so it's not a fixed focus. It is focusable. Mine's a little grindy. From 3 feet to infinity. Now we're getting into the good stuff. It does have a PC port, flash sync at the 50th setting, and it's got a cold shoe on the top. So you could actually put an electronic flash on this. So a 127 camera with an electronic flash, not, you know. So if I was going to shoot 127, this is one I would probably go for. Has a cable release friendly shutter button on the front. It has a tripod socket on the bottom, so you can use it like a real camera. The film is advanced. It loads through the camera sort of backwards, so it rotates from right to left. And it has this kind of neat integrated wheel.
I like it that it's index finger and thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a
So
127.
It's like it's on the top, but it's kind of recessed, so you don't accidentally bump it. It does, it makes the camera a little sleeker looking, and it's really easy to advance. It feels really nice to advance it. And then it's got the little window in the back that you can pop open and close to count your frames. It's not automatic stop or anything. The one design flaw that I feel is on the back. There's a huge switch right in the middle of the door
Yes.
that looks like would open the window.
Yes.
But that actually is opening the back of the
gee.
camera. So when you're shooting it, make sure you don't touch that big switch.
Because that's
That big
exactly
inviting
what I
red
thought
button.
it was.
Exactly.
Yes.
It looks just like a window slider, but it's actually the back of the camera. It's fairly uncommon. This was made. It's tagged as West Germany, so it was made in good Germany. After
Germany.
it's fairly uncommon in the U.S.
Like if everyone in East Germany was bad.
Well, that's the way they looked in the movies.
Okay.
No.
It looks like a much better camera than it really is at first glance.
Well, the design of it is beautiful, and the actual mechanics are well made. It works very well. It advances. It feels tight.
Okay.
It feels strong. It just the actual shutter kind of lets it down because there's not much going on with the shutter and the lens. But the actual construction of the camera.
It is
really
metal.
nice. It is all metal. It is all.
It has not aged unless you've cleaned it up, and I thought maybe it was plastic.
It's
but-
metal, but it's spray painted silver, so it looks like aluminum, but it's actually
Yes.
Well, I don't know what it could be made of aluminum, but it's actually spray painted silver. It looks kind of like polished aluminum from a few feet away. Here's a trivia question: what was the first modern hot shoe flash? Because this camera has a cold shoe on it, but the cold shoe is obviously designed for an electronic flash to not short itself out. And that's why I was trying to sort of nail down what year this was. Because if this was a 58, could you have gotten regular hot shoe electronic flashes in 58?
Well, they had hot shoe bulbs, flash guns.
They did. That
Did
made
they?
contact
they
through
all-
the
They
shoe.
fold up these little things and they
Yeah.
put it right in there.
Yeah, but was that a hot shoe? Or
Yeah, they were. Nikon had
I can
one.
think of those as being PC cord.
Will that take a modern day Vivitar 252 or no?
Yes, a
Yes.
52 will because it's got the PC port.
Oh, okay, but you can't use the hot shoe.
It's got a cold shoe.
Cold shoe.
But just the
Gotcha.
fact that on a lot of old cameras that have a cold shoe, it's just a piece of metal. The fact that
Right.
this one's cut out to not short itself out,
Oh, yes. Yes.
Right.
I noticed that as being a little different. So I was kind of curious about that. Like the Yoshita Mat here has a cold shoe on it,
Yep.
Right.
but
Just
if you
a-
put an electronic flash, it'll short itself out.
Because it's metal touching metal.
Right.
Right. Gotcha.
So yeah, I like it. It feels very solid. I mean, you can pass it around. It feels very solid. It feels good. The machining on it is good.
Yep.
Construction is good. The mystery lens lets it down. The focus feels a little grindy, and you only
Yeah,
get
44.
2 apertures and 2 shutter speeds. But
What more do you need?
well, yeah, you just got to shoot it like a box camera.
I had one a long time
It looks like a funky retro-futuristic alien space camera, but it's really a box
And you
camera.
can do multiple exposures.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It does appear to be a lot more quiet than my Canomatic.
It is. If it had a winder on it. Yeah, and like I said, they go for about $30 on eBay. So they're cheap, but if you're looking for a little 127, 4x4, or you can go for one of the, if you find one of the wacky aspect ratios, I'd shoot a 4x6. I'd be curious.
Are they still in business today? Because it wasn't that long ago. You still could buy Bilora tripods.
Yeah.
Unless someone bought out
bought
the name.
yeah. Which is more than likely.
Well, thank you, Mark.
Yeah, sure.
I want
Always
to.
something new.
Yes, always something new that's old. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Thank Dave Lyons for sending the original saltwater taffy, delicious 10 flavor assortment bag, and
And the Mountain Dew hooch jug.
yes, and the Mountain Dew jug. Does anyone want to say goodbye?
Hey, goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Podcast at filmphotographyproject.com. Please drop us a line, please.
There goes that man in a tracksuit, matching from head to his toes. Enjoy his mirrored sunglasses, just resting there on his nose. It's tracksuit man. He wears a shiny medallion, nestling in his hairy chest. He wears his top slightly open, so you can see his white vest. It's tracksuit man. It's tracksuit man. Yeah. Play that guitar. Oh. Look out! Look at his brand new white trainers. Look at his badly matched socks. Check out that new Bluetooth earpiece. He thinks he's something he's not. It's tracksuit man. It's tracksuit man. It's tracksuit. It's tracksuit. It's tracksuit man. Tracksuit man. Tracksuit man. Tracksuit man. Tracksuit man. Tracksuit man. That man wears tracksuit man. Tracksuit man wears tracksuit man. That man wears tracksuit man. That man wears tracksuit man. I like his tracksuit man. You like his tracksuit man. His nice red tracksuit man. like it really cheap. Bread is almost plastic, the patsy's barely meats. Cheeseburgers are the greatest, they really are a treat. It shouldn't be organic, must be engineered, assembled in a factory 1,000 miles from here, and flown across the ocean above the troposphere. Yeah. Cheap burgers, 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 cheap burgers. Give me all you got, give me everything on top. I'm getting deep, I need cheap burgers. Than 3 inches. Well, you gotta get it right. And no bigger than a handful. Well, no bigger than a bite. Yeah. Cheap burgers, 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 cheap burgers. Give me all you got, stick a pickle on the top. I'm getting deep urges, I need cheap burgers, 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 burgers, burgers going cheap.